Well, greetings, Moody Theological Seminary Greek geeks. Again, now welcome to week 4 of our course, of our 7-week course. In the middle of this week, you'll be halfway through the course already. Time's fun when you're having flies, or is that time's flies when you're having fun? Well, in any case, we are in week 4. So, Charis Humin Kairene, grace to you and peace. And I trust that's your experience. And again, I want to encourage you to maintain some good self-disciplined study schedules for mastering New Testament Greek, including Greek syntax and exegetical method. You're being introduced to these, and it'll take some time to really master syntax and exegetical method, and they'll only be mastered with practice. So plan to use what you're learning. In this course, what you want to do is learn to master get a good grasp, rather, of the principles, and work to master the practice, and then the skills will grow as you then use them thereafter. Well, again, another motivating memo here from Martin Luther, so take time to be reminded of that. And remember, these greats from the past wrestled through all the same things you are as they were learning to use the languages. No one since the Apostle Paul and that first century of believers learned these languages naturally. And even modern Greek is not exactly like biblical Greek. So give yourself to the study. Well, we are in week 4, and this week you're going to be focusing on the subjunctive mood and background studies in the exegetical method. As always, you want to access the links for each week on the upper left-hand corner of your screen, but I review things here in hopes that it helps to clarify some things for you. Our objectives this week are but 3. You want to recognize the use of the subjunctive mood. You should be able to chart the results of the background study of Roman sexual practices during the imperial period. And you want to be able to discuss the grammar, semantics, and syntax of Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 through 19, and include a listing of cultural topics from the passage that need further research. You're going to be reading through Wallace this week. Now, not going on to deal with his magnum opus on the Granville-Sharp rule, but you may want to go back and read that on your own. You're going to be reading the section on the subjunctive mood, pages 461 through 80. 19 pages, not as much as some other weeks, so do give due diligence in reading these pages. Maybe be able to focus a little more on it and study the examples well to get a good grasp of them. In Bach and Fanning, you're going to read chapter 7, which has to do with background studies. That's pages 167 through 99, so you've got about 30 pages there. You've got chapter 11 in Wallace and Edwards' workbook on New Testament syntax, and in Campbell, Basics of Verbal Aspect in Biblical Greek, you've got chapters 5 and 6. Your first assignment on Romans sexual practice chart. Here you're going to research into first century cultural practices within the Roman Empire with regard to sexuality. You want to make sure to consult primary sources, not secondary sources. 2 key ideas to begin with include sexual immorality, 1 Thessalonians 4:4, and uncleanness, 1 Thessalonians 4:7, from your passage. This will help you answer the all too important so what questions. And remember, you should incorporate your findings into your final exegetical paper. So hopefully you're doing a good job on all these steps in the exegetical method, because the better you do along the way, the less work you'll have in week 7 to pull your paper together. Assignment 4.2 from the workbook is chapter 11, questions 9 through 20. And those have to do again with Matthew 5:13 through 19. And again, don't restate the questions. Simply give the answer to the questions as you've been doing. For the discussion board this week, there's only one. You translate Matthew 5:13 through 19. That should be roughly 200 words, and include observations on any challenging syntax, and list at least 2 cultural items that need further investigation in order to understand the pericope. And this should take you roughly 200 words. Where do you propose to go for answers to these background items? After posting your translation, complete comment on the translation of at least two other students, rather. Translation, respond to any comments on your own. Well, that's all. I say that carefully this week. Don't be taken by surprise if it does seem to be less work. It may not actually prove to be that, but if it does, take time to really study it maybe more thoroughly, and take time to go back over the first 3 weeks and see if you can strengthen your understanding of previous concepts. Maybe you can work on some of the aspects you've already done to get it prepared for your paper when you get to week 7. Well, that's it for this week. Not as long as last week's announcement, I'm glad. Remember, week 4 for you, I'm in my first full week on the dig. Arrived last Wednesday and was on the tell on Thursday. Friday and Saturday are no work days there in Israel. And then on Sunday, we're back at it, Sunday through Thursday. So I'm in my really first full week on the tell. Keep me in your prayers if you would, and watch my Facebook pages for any posts of pictures or videos of how we're progressing. Know you're in my prayers, and I'm thinking about you all as you're working on your Greek. Continue to do well. I'm really quite pleased with how most of you seem to be doing and the feedback you're giving in your work.